We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. Gallup survey shows LGBTQ individuals are coming out at a younger age than before. The report gives credit to increasing societal acceptance. However, it also pinpoints the existence of hateful bills.
Researchers developed an HIV-like vector to target virus reservoirs and potentially replace lifelong ART. Early animal tests look promising.
Project 2025's director steps down amid backlash from Trump's campaign. Trump tries maintaining distance from the controversial project as Democrats continue highlighting its real nature.
In 2024, only 41 out of 527 anti-LGBTQ bills passed. Activist efforts and advocacy are leading to significant wins for LGBTQ rights. Perhaps you didn't know.
Celebrate Hotspots Happening Out's 40th anniversary year with a 4-day cruise to Port Lucaya, Bahamas, featuring parties, performances, and more. This fantastic cruise will be aboard Margaritaville at Sea Paradise on December 6th. You hear all the details.
Good evening. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels. We are proud to announce that YouTube has recognized Queer News Tonight, certified by analytics company vidIQ, that we have had more than 9 million views. It is Thursday, August 1st, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in the LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ+ community. Our mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
In 2024, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Let's meet tonight's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome Adrianna Tender, the program coordinator with Trans Inclusive Group and owner of Tender Love and Care Trans Mentoring. She serves on the National Board of Governors of the Human Rights Campaign and is vice president of the Dolphin Democrats and on the board of Black LGBTQ Liberation. Adrianna, South Florida DNC Watch Party and Volunteer Open House is on August 22nd at the pub, Wilton Manors. Tell me, what's happening, sister?
So we're having a watch party for the DNC, and it's going to be put on by HRC as well as the Dolphin Democrats, and we'll be able to hear the exciting, amazing speech of Vice President Kamala Harris, as well as we'll get to hear a message from the president of HRC as well. And so it's going to be amazing, and I hope everyone comes and shows up.
So how do we register for this event? Do we go to Dolphin Dems or do we go to HRC's website?
So you will be eventually be able to go to both, but right now you're only going to be able to go to HRC's site, and you can register for the event, and it's free. And if you come, there'll be appetizers and a free drink, and you know everyone loves a free drink.
Absolutely. I can't wait. Are there going to be speeches from the Dolphin Dems leadership as well?
Yes, so I'll most likely be speaking as the vice president, and there'll be either our director, Tatiana Williams, will be speaking from HRC or some of our other board.
Well, that's great. Well, look forward to that event. So join that great event to hear Vice President Kamala Harris. Next up, let's meet Mr. Vaughn Biggs, Broward County HIV Health Services Planning Council's Vice Chair and disruptive advocate that he is.
Yes.
Challenging outdated perceptions and fighting for HIV/AIDS rights. As Holy Cross's Health's Community Outreach Coordinator, Vaughn smashes stigma through innovative campaigns and social media. Vaughn, you will be attending the 2024 National Ryan White Conference in Washington, D.C. on August 20th. Tell me, what's happening, brother?
Yeah, it's great. HRSA had actually contacted our planning council. I'm part of the Ryan White Part A Planning Council. So the chair and the vice chair has been invited to come up to D.C. for the week. And it'll be a great opportunity for us to network with other EMAs, as we call them, across the country to find out what's working and not working in the communities, and obviously to bring those opportunities back to Broward to see what we can do to improve healthcare access to individuals living with HIV.
That's great. So what do you guys envision when you guys come back? Like, is there going to be like an open meetings? Like, how are you guys going to bring those key learnings back to the community?
Well, that's a good question, because this is the first time I've been.
Okay.
So I'm excited because I've heard so many people have gone to this event, and it's amazing, and it's quite large from my understanding. So I'm just excited because I know when I come back, and then my chair, who is Lorenzo Robertson, he'll be up there as well. So we'll be coming, I'm sure we'll be doing meetings and discussions with the planning bodies of everything that we learned while we were up there.
So I'm happy to host a cocktail reception at my house with people locally in the community to learn from you guys afterwards.
Okay, perfect.
Take me up on it.
I will.
Or it could be a pool party as well.
Okay,
Whatever.
okay.
Let's welcome Michael Greene. He serves as chairman of the Broward County Ending the HIV Epidemic Advisory Board. He is on the board of directors for the AIDS Institute. He is the community linkage and liaison coordinator for Holy Cross Health. I see a connection here. His passions include advocacy on the local and state levels, as well as movies, music, travel, long walks on the beach. Welcome, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dr. Summers. How are you?
I'm great. It's good to have you here.
It is good to be here. This is my second time. I get to be with my sister Adrianna. I get to be with my big brother Vaughn, so I have to be on my best behavior. He has set the bar really, really high. So let everybody know, yes, Vaughn has set the bar high. And then, of course, I get to be with Gregg. But no, it's an honor to be here. I'm following in Vaughn's footsteps, literally, because I will be in D.C. for the board meeting for the AIDS Institute. Okay. And so I'm looking forward to that. And then we will be traveling in September to the USCHA conference. So I'm really excited about that. It'll be a first time for myself. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to hearing everything that you learn from these great conference opportunities.
Definitely.
And welcome. And this is our first time on together.
Yeah.
So let's have some fun.
And what about that pool party?
Oh, same goes for you as well. That's right. Let's do it.
Anything for him to take his shirt off.
Ooh.
Oh, that's how we're doing it. Okay.
I got you.
I saw pictures, so yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
Let's welcome Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBTQ Hall of Fame. Gregg is the author of 2 short story collections and 7 books of poetry. He's an entertainment journalist whose celebrity interviews and reviews run in a variety of print and online publications. Welcome, Gregg. What's up?
Well, I will not be taking my shirt off, just to give everybody some relief. And of course, this is tonight's lead anchor, Dr. Edward Summers. He is the executive director of Pride Lines, Miami's LGBTQ Community Center. He served as a primary therapist and program director at Eye Care Treatment Center in West Palm Beach. He was also the founder and CEO of the New York-based nonprofit, The Thinkubator. Edward, Stonewall National Museum Archive and Library Executive Director Robert Keston hosts Donuts and Conversation on the first and third Saturdays of every month. Tell me about it.
Sure. I want to big up Rob Keston and Stonewall Museum. I mean, he does such a great job. He's really provided such significant leadership over the last 2+ years that he's been there. And so I just wanted to highlight a program that he does where he gets lots of people from the community on the first and third Saturday, where it's donuts and coffee, and they have conversations. They bought, a number of people there are elected officials. They bought like Mark Materano, who is like great. So they brought so many different people, to donuts and conversation. It's just a good opportunity to bring the community together, to do some shared learning, and to visit the library, quite frankly. So I just wanted to big up Robert Keston and all the great work that he does in this program that they do.
And there's donuts.
And there's donuts. I don't eat it, but I like the coffee, definitely. my son loves the donuts, of course, so he could eat it for me. All right, we are the reporters for Queer News Tonight. And this evening, we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for Thursday, August 1st, 2024. First, this evening, let's queer up gay culture. Gallup survey finds that younger LGBTQ people coming out earlier. A new Gallup survey reveals that LGBTQ individuals are coming out at younger ages, reflecting greater societal acceptance over the past decade. Among LGBTQ adults, 71% reported sharing their identity before turning 30, with 57% doing so before 22. The median age for coming out among those aged 18 to 29 is 17. The survey also highlights that most respondents realized their LGBTQ identity during adolescence, with 48% knowing by age 14 and 72% by 18. Despite these positive trends, 18% of respondents had not come out to anyone, and a small number reported coming out later in life. Changing attitudes towards LGBTQ people are evident, with a June Gallup poll showing that 69% of Americans support same-sex marriage and 64% find gay and lesbian relationships morally acceptable. Moreover, 70% of respondents in the survey felt that social acceptance and treatment of LGBTQ people has either gotten a lot or gotten a little better over the past decade. However, about 25% of LGBTQ adults reported experiencing poor treatment or harassment frequently or occasionally in the past year due to their sexual orientation. This progress contrasts with a troubling backdrop where the country saw over 500 anti-LGBTQ bills getting introduced in state legislators. And the latest FBI crime report highlighted a significant increase in reported LGBTQ hate crimes. This story brings some happiness and then, some back to reality. And I think increasingly, obviously, this story is reporting that more and more of us are identifying and coming out of the closet earlier. I know it took me a long time to come out the closet. I didn't come out into my 20s because I had a Southern dad, who's from South Carolina, was very traditional, and had this perception of what a man was and what masculinity looked like, and didn't really know much about gay folks, to be honest with you. I had not really come in contact with gay folks or trans folks or just anyone under the LGBTQ plus family. And so it's good to see that more and more young people are feeling more comfortable with themselves to be able to come out. I knew at 13, right? 12, 13, I knew I was definitely gay and I like men. So this is providing some level of comfort. The discomfort is, of course, with the 500 plus bills that we've seen that goes against our community. And I think I hate to relate this back to politics. That's why this political year, it's really important that people get out and vote and support who you support. But I believe in supporting people who love you, right? Supporting people who are going to stand with you and not those who don't stand with you, right? So this election year is critically important. Every election year, quite frankly, is critically important. But this year, more than ever. And so this story brings hope that people are coming out earlier and more acceptance. However, it does bring us back to reality that, that there are a lot of people that don't like us and don't accept us and don't, really appreciate who we are. Right.
I think one of the good things about this also is the fact that the younger people are feeling comfortable that not only that they can, but there's a level of acceptance. Older generations have paved the way, for that. One of the things that I think concerns me is the lack of mentorship within the community, because, a generation ago, when you came out, you had one or two persons that you could look up to and that would school you on even how to go out to clubs, how you don't leave your drinks unattended and these different type of things. And so a lot of that is being missed today. There's something to be said, and I know I'm a little old-fashioned, but there's something to be said, back in the day, you didn't want to be the person that hooked up with everybody in the bar. Now it seems to be, okay, well, I had him yesterday, I had him 2 hours ago, I had her, 3 hours ago. Different strokes for different folks, but there's a level of mentorship that I think is missing.
Michael, that's great that you mentioned mentoring, and sorry to cut you off, Greg, but I want to switch to Miss Tender here, who has her own mentoring company, actually. And can you speak to Michael's point about the fact that there's a level of mentorship that's missing out there and what you do?
Most definitely. I feel that that is definitely missing. And that was one of the things that I noticed when I first opened TLC Tender Loving mentoring, especially within the trans community. Sometimes we are missing that connection from the adults that have already gone through what the youth have gone through. They just go out there behind first, don't know what they're doing, and they get into trouble. And you know, when I think about these numbers and these statistics, I think about us as Black people and us coming out and the things that we're going up. It's not just, you know, our LGBTQ identities, but it's also systemic racism that we're fighting as well.
Yes.
And a lot of the oppression comes from, like, I was raised up in the church. My mother is a pastor. And so one of the things that kept me from coming out was, you know, all the things that I heard in church from my pastor as well as my mother that I was pressed with, you know, that made me feel less than as not just a gay boy at the time, but eventually as a trans woman. And we need to continue fighting those things, you know?
Do you think the lack of mentorship is possibly that there are generations that we've lost since the 80s, since the beginning? Do you think, I mean, as the elder at the table and someone, you know, who came out in high school and that was the beginning of the process during the Stone Age, and then continued into my early 20s, I was surrounded by, and again, I'm talking about a long time ago, there were elders older than me, you know, who, you know, I got my gay education. You know, they taught me what movies to watch, what music to listen to, how to be careful, you know, and do all this stuff. And so do you think that maybe that these missing mentors are possibly part of the people that we've lost? That
I will agree with you, because when you think about our mentors, especially within the Black transgender community, so I was going to speak on something about representation. We all know that representation counts. We know that if someone isn't able to see themselves, if it's on the TV screen, or if it's in sports, or just at school, that's a problem. And when it comes to Black trans women, our life expectancy is 35.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's 35. So going back to what she said, there are missing generations of Black trans people, but you know, it's definitely getting better.
Yeah.
You know, I would say that it's definitely getting better.
So, Greg, to add on to your point, I want to flip to Vaughn. Vaughn, what role do you think social media plays in all this, right? And the fact that like, we might be missing, you know, our elders and our mentors, but social media plays a big role now in shaping individuals and how they see themselves or not see themselves.
Right. Well, you know, I look at it, you know, I currently have a 40-year-old daughter who came out at 18. And how I found out that she was out was through, we all may know this, MySpace. So I was one of those parents that looked after my children and had an account that I was able to follow them to make sure they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, and found out through that. But I never outed her. I waited for her to come out, you know, because I thought that's not my story to tell.
Right.
But it wasn't until I hit 50 that my, at the time, 30-year-old daughter was my mentor, because that's when I came out. So we flipped the script on that. But it's the location. I'm in the Midwest, you know, in the farming communities. It's a completely different, you know, area. But what I do appreciate is also during that time when I came out, I lived downtown Indianapolis, and 3 of the biggest mentors there were 3 Black trans women that actually were working at a bar down the street. And it was a great experience because I was able to sit with them and ask questions like, I don't know. And they wanted to ask me questions. They're like, how can you be straight all these years? But social media today plays a big part. But I feel like, and we've talked about this, the Trevor Project, a lot on this show. And they don't like bullying, right? That youth don't like bullying, and they're so free and open. You know, there's so many letters, there's so many, you know, genders that they're not sticking with. They don't want to stick to a label, and I find that still encouraging. But they use social media, but they don't stand for the bullying that I think a lot of the people before them have received.
And that's true, Vaughn. I was in Costa Rica bringing in the new year, and I was at this beautiful butterfly garden, and I saw these 2 boys, and they were teenagers, 17, 18, and one of them had on fingernail polish. And it was a different kind of polish. It looked cute, and I was like, hey, your nails look really nice. And he was like, oh, my girlfriend did it for me. And I had to fix my face because, I'm thinking he was doing it or, whatever. But he was like, no, it's his girlfriend. I was like,
Comfort.
oh, okay.
It's about being comfortable.
Right.
Exactly. So, it's a good thing that people are able to feel comfortable. And I just want to bring up something else. We were talking about this just a few seconds ago, is there are some people who never officially come out. They live their life. They do what they need to do. I think in our generation in the 80s and the 90s, it was about making sure you lived a life that you felt respected by, And so as long as you were respected and you respected yourself, you kind of really didn't care what anybody else thought,
Right.
So.
Michael, to your point, I have a bunch of nieces and nephews. I come from a pretty big family. I'm one of 12 and I have 46 nieces and nephews, and I have a kid myself.
Wow.
But my nieces and nephews are pretty open. They're pretty fluid about things. And, I have a relative who's non-binary, but it's my niece who's always correcting my non-binary relative mother about no, that person's wrong, non-binary. Stop referring to that person as she, because she's not she. She's they, them. But it just comes so naturally to them. It just flows off their tongue, way better than me. And I work in this space, right? And I am this space, but it's just a part of their existence now, and which is great to see and great to hear, especially in my family. And my dad, not ironically enough, but he's definitely come around, he's in his 80s, right? He's born in South Carolina. He had me to deal with, but now he has all these grandchildren to deal with. And it's amazing to see how he loves everyone and he's embraced it and how he's just grown from this experience. And it was rough with me. I was the first, but it's changed him. The love for them, it's just amazing. And he's so respectful of pronouns. And he's like, did I get that right? And I'm like, you're good, Dad. Don't worry about it. Like, you're good.
That reminds me of my brother. My brother is 26 years old. I'm, of course, 49. And
Girl.
I guess came out kicking and pushing the door down. But no, I came out at, 18, 19. And my parents have known for years. And it took my brother, who's 26, when he was probably about, I would say 18, 19 years old, for him to be like, her name is Adrianna and it's she. Wow. So stop dead naming her and misgendering her.
Yeah.
Wow.
It took him for the rest of my siblings
To get it together.
and my parents to get it together.
Wow.
So this new generation, honey.
Oh, they bold. They bold, for real.
We have faith in them.
Yes.
What's up
absolutely.
next,
All
Mark?
right. Next, let's queer up health. Breakthrough HIV treatment may end lifelong medications. Researchers from George Mason University Center of Infectious Disease Research and Tulane National Primate Research Center have unveiled a promising HIV treatment approach in the journal Gene Therapy. Led by Yuntao Yu, CIDR study developed an innovative HIV-like virus particle called the HIV-REV, dependent lentiviral vector, which could potentially eliminate the need for lifelong antiretroviral therapy, ART. Currently, ART effectively blocks HIV, but cannot eradicate the virus's reservoirs in immune cells. Wu's team has created a vector that uses an HIV protein, REV, to selectively target and activate therapeutic genes in these reservoirs. This technology, under development since 2002, shows potential in both reducing viral reservoirs and boosting the immune system to produce antiviral neutralizing antibodies. Collaborating scientists at Tulane tested the approach on monkeys with a SIV-BAC239, a virus similar to HIV. Results showed a significant reduction in virus levels, with some causes remaining undetectable for over 2 years after stopping ART. This breakthrough offers new hope for the 1.2 million Americans and 39 million people worldwide living with HIV. The next steps include expanded animal studies and eventually human clinical trials to confirm these promising results. All I can say is hope and optimism is all I can have. And until I can see studies, human studies, I can just hope that I will see the end of the HIV epidemic.
Right. I think it's great that, you know, scientists are making progress here, but like your point, Mon, I want to see some more data, some more research on this. But it is helpful, you know. We do have a significant amount of people that are out there impacted that you reported in the story, and you know, I just have hope, you know, great hope for this, and I hope it continues. This research continues.
It's groundbreaking news, but I'm just not sure the horrors. I mean, people in the pharmaceutical industry won't be all that pleased to hear about a cure for something that's been making them a lot of money for far too many years. So I'm kind of surprised that if they're going to actually let this happen.
Well, go ahead, Adrian.
No, I was just going to piggyback off what he's saying and just kind of sort of agree. And I'm like, come on, you have people that have HIV and they're on medication to suppress their viral loads and keep them healthy. And then you have people like myself who are on medication. So, you know, I won't get HIV. So it's like everybody's taking medication and all the pharmaceutical companies are making all this money off of it. So if that happens, then what?
And you look at it, it's 2002 since they've been working on this.
They'll concoct another virus out there. I hate the conspiracy theory, but no, I think your point's right though. But notice where this is coming from. This is coming from academia, right? And this is always coming from academia. I'm sure that there will be a lot more challenges to this study. You know, to your point, the pharmaceutical companies is not going to go lying down on this because it threatens their profitability, right? It threatens their economic model. So, but it does bring hope, you know, to so many people that are out there with the virus. Also, we have to remember, and this is where I'm gun-ho on this, is that we still have a major problem, particularly here in South Florida, of people still being impacted and still being infected. Like South Florida, Liberty City, where my Pride Line's location is located at, like we are the #1 place for new infections. And so anything like this, I'm always hopeful for, because of the fact that like this is still a cunning virus. And you know, the gay community, particularly the Caucasian gay community, I think oftentimes doesn't think that this impacts them anymore because it's impacting Black women. Like, I'm on my rampage here, but like to the gay community, without Black folks, we wouldn't have our rights. Without Black women who 98% of the time votes Democratic, we would not be where we are. We wouldn't have the equity. We wouldn't have the equality. We wouldn't have gay marriage without Black women. So they're the #1s being impacted by this virus. We need to stand for them today. Stand for them today and forever, because without them, there's no us. There's no equity in this country. So we have to remember that. And sorry to go on my high horse here, but it just bothers me so much that women of color, particularly Black women, are the #1 new infection rates here. You know, it just tears me up. And then it tears me up when I feel like people don't recognize that this is still a problem. And to points earlier, you know, Michael, you were making, I hooked up with this one 2 hours ago. Like we just go on with our lives. Like this thing doesn't still exist, you know?
It's so
just
true.
Bothersome.
Well, I appreciate the rampage, especially as a Broward County ending the HIV epidemic. You know, I definitely appreciate, you know, your passion, and we're correct. And like I tell, whether you're a gay man, a straight man, we have to protect, especially our Black women, you know, and when I'm out in the community and I'm speaking to Black women, I'm like, we have a right to protect you, and you have a right to protect yourself. I know that it's not always easy, but you have to learn to look after yourself, you know. And to Gregg's point, I thought about that too when I looked at the story, and I was glad it wasn't my story. I was like, oh, on gets to talk on it. But I thought about the pharmaceutical thing, but the one thing that kept really ringing in me was when they were talking about the fact that the ART, you know, they were off of it for 2 years. In my mind, I'm thinking that even though they're doing genotherapy, they're still using HIV drugs, you know, because you still have to have that component going to get it to where, you know, they are at right now. So to everyone's point, yes, there is hope. And, you know, sad to say, whether it's manufactured or whatever, there will be something else that comes along, because we look at Mpox. You know, it was amazing how it was, for those of us that are old enough, it was a flashback to the 80s and the 90s with the HIV, you know, virus. And so I am constantly amazed when I move in spaces and people ask me, oh, is HIV still a thing? You know, and gay men ask me that, and I'm like, you know, the violent tendencies want to come out, but it's like, where are you at? What are you thinking? You know, so I appreciate your passion.
It's when it doesn't impact them directly, they just completely, it's like NIMBY, right? Not in my backyard. I don't remember it. I don't realize it. I don't remember the impact that it's had, but it's had a significant impact on the gay community, but now today, a more significant on the Black and brown community. And I'm all about protecting my woman. Because I love my mama, love my sisters, right? And I love Black women. And I want to do everything I can to make sure that we are helping to eradicate this disease for our sisters, particularly who are number one impacted here. That's exactly why we moved to Liberty City too.
When you look at the total, if you look at a worldwide view, take it out, go out of Broward, go out of the United States, 39 million people living with HIV, more than 51% of them are women.
Wow.
So if you look at it from a worldwide view, I mean, women are strongly impacted by this.
Yes.
But the sad thing is that so many of them don't even realize it.
They don't.
They don't even realize it, realize that they're in a community that their numbers are rising. A lot of them feel like it's not my problem. No. I'm not dealing with that.
No.
My man is heterosexual and I don't have to worry about that type of stuff. And I promise you they don't. And that's part of the problem. And that's a lot of the reason that we don't even know, or they don't even know about things like Albertude and the Truvada and, you know,
right?
They can't take it. But
that's right. My bad. Women can't. That's right. Right.
But yeah, that's half the problem.
And, you know, just to bring this to a close, I'm sorry, Dr. Thomas.
No, go right ahead.
But I have a friend of mine, and as I would say, a cisgender female, white female, who makes over 6 figures. When she goes to her provider the first time, oh, well, what kind of slut are you? Literally, that was the language that was used to her. So it's like, if this accomplished female who happens to be white cannot receive PrEP and equitable treatment, you know, about taking care of her own sexual health, what hopes do we have for younger women of color that maybe are on what some might say the wrong side of the tracks, or their economic level is not at a certain level? What hope do they have? Except for people like us and people who are watching in the community. I love giving homework assignments. I'm at an age where, you know, I offer teachable moments and I do it freely. So all of us that are listening to us that have young women in our lives and even young men, it's your responsibility to talk about PrEP, to talk about treatment and care. Sorry.
Mentorship.
Protecting yourself. That's right. At Pridlines, we just got into the PrEP space. April 1st, we became a PrEP provider, and we thought that, you know, our number one population would be actually gay boys, right? But that market's pretty saturated. People have gotten the gay boys here. So our big market is actually people of color, straight people. So we literally, like, the majority of our clients right now are straight and people of color that are from Liberty City, right in our local community. And so that's a big population that we're impacting. And that's the market that we're trying to go after our gay boys still, because it's still an issue in our community, but that's our big market, is people of color in Liberty City and communities like Liberty City.
That's wonderful.
Okay, next, clear up politics. Project 2025 director steps down amid Trump backlash. The Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, a blueprint for overhauling the federal government, has seen a major shakeup. Paul Dans, the project's director, is stepping down after backlash from Donald Trump's campaign. Heritage Foundation President Kevin Roberts confirmed Dan's departure, stating that Dan's exit comes as the project has completed exactly what it set out to do. Project 2025 began as a far-right wish list and is now a hot topic in the 2024 election. Democrats have used Project 2025 to highlight what they see as extreme policy proposals for a potential Trump administration. The nearly 1,000-page document suggests sweeping changes, including altering personnel rules to ensure government workers' loyalty to the president. However, Trump is trying to distance himself from Project 2025, claiming he hasn't read it. He has dismissed the document, saying it is written by those on the severe right. At a recent rally, Trump criticized the project as seriously extreme. But shall we believe Trump for this? Especially when Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, has generously praised the project in a foreword to a forthcoming book by Heritage Foundation's new president, Kevin Roberts. Forgive me. Hell no, we shouldn't believe him.
No.
Like, hell no.
No.
Well, he hasn't read it because, he's illiterate. And stepping down doesn't mean stepping away. Paul Dans is a dangerous psychopath, and his every move must be tracked so there are no surprises along the way. And by the way, Kevin Roberts, who they mentioned, also answers to the name Joseph Goebbels, who was Hitler's sidekick. So feel free to use it when referring to his hateful being.
Listen, I mean, just because he steps down doesn't mean that the agenda is still not going to be advanced by Trump should he get into office. And Trump lying and stating that, he doesn't know anything about it, he hasn't read it. He was at a Heritage meeting last year stating that these individuals are outlining his agenda. He said it in his own words, I'm paraphrasing, so it's not his exact words, but he said that they're creating and crafting our agenda. So for most people, just a little political science 101, most of the time public policy is done by think tanks. It's done by academics, right? I was a political science professor once upon a time, right? I would craft policy papers with my colleagues, and we would literally throw it out there to, staffers and others, and those policies would actually get adopted by elected officials. Policies don't get created by elected officials. They get created by academics and think tanks. And this is exactly who creates our agenda. So the Heritage Foundation is well known throughout our country. They're the ones behind these 500 plus, anti-LGBTQ bills, right? All across our country. Let's be real. It's the Heritage Foundation. And so to think that they will not influence the administration is full of crap. First of all, we know Trump has read. We know he hasn't read it because it's not 100 pages. It's too above his level. But it will influence.
There's no
him.
pictures.
There's no pictures. That's right. That's right. It will influence his agenda. And J.D. Vance. I mean, his partner in crime now has definitely read it as a lawyer. I'm sure he's definitely read it and he's adopted it. And so. Trump could do everything that he can to distance himself, but it's full of crap. He's just trying to placate the people, the American public out there. His base and him believes in this agenda. And to the point of his agenda, you can go, Michael, his agenda is about, think about this, eliminating jobs, right? He immediately wants to eliminate the Department of Education. He wants to eliminate government employees and appoint his loyalist, right? This is he talks about creating jobs. He wants to eliminate jobs.
And term limits.
He
said you won't have to vote again.
That's right.
That's what he said. He actually said it out loud.
And the FDA.
Yeah.
And what is it when you the people that tell us about the weather? What is that? Like hurricanes
the
and all
National
of
Weather Service people.
Yes.
Right. Right.
that as well.
So I'm listening to everything that you guys are saying, but I just have this little quote here. And the Trump campaign advisors, Susie Wiles and Chris Lasitova, said in a statement, reports on Project 2025 demise would be greatly welcomed and should serve as notice to anyone or any group trying to misinterpret their influence with President Trump in this campaign. It will not end well for you. So you mean to tell me that this was put out and...
He didn't know? Like I said.
He knows all.
I'm just asking a question.
Listen, this is their agenda, period. I mean, they did have at the RNC a little 2-page agenda of their policy, but, that was really for show. Their real agenda is to really decimate our rights. Let's be clear. They've told us already. And the famous quote from Maya Angelou, right? When somebody shows you who they are, tell you who they are, believe them the first time, right?
That's true.
Let's believe Trump. As Gregg said, he has stated that we don't have to vote. After this time, we don't have to vote. He told us Christian people, don't worry about it, 'cause I'm going to fix it. I'm going to go in and fix everything, right? Because you don't have to vote. And it's not taking it out of the character or the context, right? He means it. He also stated that he's going to be a dictator on day one. We have to believe him. Because guess what? If January 6th told us anything, we have to take this guy for his word. He's dangerous. He is a dangerous guy. And this agenda will decimate our rights, our civil rights as we know it. And to our community, we're in danger. If we don't coalesce, if we don't come together, right? If we don't go out there and get people to vote, register people to vote, right? And vote your conscience, right? I'm not telling you to vote for one person or another. I'm voting for Kamala Harris, point blank and simple, because she stands with our community.
Mm-hmm.
She stands with our community for a long time, so I'm voting with her because she supports me. I am not supporting any candidates that don't support me. Period. So it's incumbent upon us. It really is incumbent upon us to save our democracy. And part of saving our democracy is getting people to vote. Exercise your God-given right in this democracy, because our democracy is supposed to be for the people and by the people, so it's up to us. It is on us. Should that crazy fool gets in office, it's going to be on us, right? Yeah. We will lose our democracy because we have not coalesced and gathered and gotten people out to the polls.
Right.
I was just going to comment because, I saw when the director stepped down and the new person in leadership, which I now can't remember his name, but I did do some research on him. He's known for his leadership in conservative think tanks. He's about education reform views, which are parental choice of schools, classical education, including philosophy, history, and science, opposition of federal outreach, his rejection of progressive ideologies, support for religious liberty, and he's also faced the backlash for Florida's new social studies program over its portrayal of slavery.
Yeah. Dangerous people.
Yes.
They want to write us out of the history books. They don't want us to exist, period. Period. Michael, what's up next?
Yes, let's queer up social justice. LGBTQ plus advocates celebrate legislative wins and community resilience amidst challenges. Pride Month may have ended, but the LGBTQ community has plenty of victories to celebrate. The Trevor Project and the American Civil Liberties Union state that despite over 550 anti-LGBTQ bills introduced in 2023, only 80 became law. So far in 2024, of the 527 anti-LGBTQ bills introduced, just 41 have passed. While these numbers can seem overwhelming, the success rate of anti-LGBTQ legislation is low, and it is due to the dedicated efforts of queer activists. Additionally, several states have passed laws this year protecting LGBTQ rights in education and healthcare. Gabby Doyle, Senior Manager of State Advocacy at the Trevor Project, told The Advocate, "We as a community have been successful in really sharing our experiences and stories with our representatives and local media." Doyle also notes a clear divide with blue states advancing LGBTQ protections while red states offer restricted queer rights. However, thanks to the efforts of LGBTQ advocates and community members, even red states like Georgia, Indiana, and Kentucky have seen increasing difficulty in passing hateful laws. Doyle emphasizes that despite the focus on negative stories, it's crucial to recognize and celebrate these positive developments as they have a profound impact on mental health. It said positive, but I say profound, because when you're able to see that, yes, somebody is standing up for me, and yes, there's a lot of queer activists that are standing up, but I also have to say there are people that are not queer, that are heterosexual, that have parents of queer children, or maybe they don't have any, gay or bisexual, children or nieces or nephews, but it's a matter of what's doing right. Let humans be humans.
No, that's a great point, Michael. To one of our earlier stories about people coming out at an earlier age, I think part of this too is that what we're seeing is younger people coming out at an earlier age, and it's impacting everyone, right? It just is not impacting, us in urban neighborhoods, right? It's impacting people in Kentucky and Indiana and Georgia, right? And so I think increasingly we're seeing more representation of us, and people are coming out earlier in age.
Totally. And it's not like, just because you were in Indiana or Kentucky that, you didn't identify as gay or had gay, thoughts or feelings or dealings. I was on a cruise 2 years ago and I met a newlywed couple, heterosexual, and we are still in contact today. The coolest couple, and they were there on their honeymoon, but just so cool. And the guy, tattooed, ex-military, but just a loving individual. And so I think, there's Bible verse that say, he who wants friends must first show himself friendly. You know, we as people need to just put down all the pretense. Be who you are.
Yeah.
Let people see your light and who you are. And people will gravitate and some people will not. And the ones that won't, okay, bye.
Yep.
Right.
Bye, Felicia.
This is fantastic news, and I hope things continue in our favor. But Debbie Downer wants you to know that I recently read about Kim Davis, that Kentucky vision of long, stringy, unwashed hair, dirty fingernails, and ill-fitting garments. She's appealing the ruling that has her having to pay her attorney fees in the thousands, and she also seeks to overturn the 2015 Obergefell ruling while she's at it. So these people, they do not go away. They just step down like Paul Dans and then get to work in their mom's basement on the next act of crazy. So while it's good news, just don't look away.
Don't look away. And it's good in a place like Kentucky. I'm glad you mentioned it. Like, I love Andy Beshear. I fell in love with this guy. I fell in love with his family. But like, this is a Democrat governor who won re-election by 5 points. You might as well say he won by 30 points because Kentucky is such a red state. Donald Trump won Kentucky by 20 points over Joe Biden. And so there is some hope. Yes, they're out there, but like, we're fighting back. And I think about a place like Indiana where Mayor Pete Buttigieg is from. And then Georgia, we have 2 Democratic senators. So yes, they're out there, but I think we have to continue to fight back, right? We have to continue to keep forward, no matter how many beatings we get. We have to continue to push forward. And I do have some hope in a place like Kentucky, where we have Andy Beshear, and I hope he's our VP pick for Kamala Harris. But anyhow, that there's some hope out there.
Yeah, but for every Buttigieg, remember, there's also a Mike Pence.
There is a Pence.
So just remember that.
Absolutely.
Next, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Celebrate 40 years of Hotspots happening out aboard Margaritaville Anniversary Cruise. The Margaritaville at Sea 40th Anniversary Cruise is a special 4-day celebration aboard the Margaritaville at Sea Paradise, hosted by Hotspots happening out. Departing from Palm Beach on December 6th, this cruise offers passengers a unique journey to celebrate 40 years of South Florida LGBTQ history. Sailed to Port Lucaya and Grand Bahamas Island. Known for its vibrant atmosphere, Port Lucaya boasts the largest marketplace in the Bahamas, featuring open-air shopping, dining, and entertainment. The cruise, ending on Monday, December 9th, is priced at an affordable $189, with a $49 deposit securing a reservation. Guests can enjoy a free transfer called Cruise Connection from 17 South Florida cities, both to and from the ship, and receive a complimentary Inside to Ocean View cabin upgrade. An interest-free payment plan of $49 per month is also available. On day 1, passengers will be treated to a special happy hour and theme party. Day 2 offers a fun-filled day at sea, including musical performances and the Ladies Who Brunch event. Day 3 is dedicated to exploring Freeport and Port Lucaya with a farewell dinner and a final theme party. Day 4 marks the return to Palm Beach with free transfers available to 17 South Florida cities. This memorable cruise supports the Travel Club's mission of educating the LGBTQ+ community. You can get full details at happeningout.travel.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral and the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
Tonight's broadcast is presented by viewers like you and the generous support by Visit Lauderdale, everyone under the sun.
We finished tonight's queer news headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News, let's queer up gay culture. LGBTQ plus representation lags in Fortune 500 boardrooms. New research shows a rainbow class ceiling exists that prevents LGBTQ plus professionals from reaching corporate boardrooms and C-suite roles. While there are notable queer leaders like Apple's Tim Cook, OpenAI's Sam Altman, and Airbnb's Tara Bunch, the reality is stark. Out Leadership estimates that less than 1% of the 5,670 boardroom seats at the Fortune 500 companies are filled by LGBTQ plus directors. Although representation has improved for women and other minorities, queer professionals still face significant barriers. You know, while it's great to see that we have them in Fortune 500 companies, sometimes I think, do some of our LGBTQ plus leaders really want to work at Fortune 500 companies versus creating their own organizations and companies?
I think that's a good point. However, I came from an industry, higher education, for instance, and I always worked at the higher level. I was always like chief of staff or VP. But there's a gap too in higher education as well, not only of LGBTQ, but people, black people. Quite frankly, Black and Latino folks. And so even in industries that are, more social entrepreneurship or education oriented, we still are lacking in those positions. I found in particular higher education, there was not a lot of us. And when there was, people were afraid to come out, particularly Black gay people. And part of it was, being associated with growing up in the South or being associated with an HBCU that has strong roots in the South. And so individuals were and are still today afraid to come out. I have a friend who's a president of a university, and he has been a president for a while, and he's alone. He's lonely. Like, we're friends and we talk all the time, but I just feel so bad for him because he still feels like he needs to be in the closet because of just the pressures or societal pressures and the way he was brought up in society. So these pressures are real. And I think also when I think about the transcendency to a college or university president or even a leader of an organization, it's challenging. And I think people still weigh that in their decision-making process. My alma mater, which I love my alma mater, it's called Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York. A couple of years ago, they had a choice between a straight president, a straight guy who was married, he was a white guy, married to a black lady, both lawyers, or a gay guy, black guy, who was married to a white guy. And their response was, well, his partner would not like it up in Poughkeepsie, so we went with the other candidate. That was their response. Wow. And, quite frankly, in the Hudson Valley, there is such a huge population of gays up there. I'm like, what do you guys mean? Like, we're a community up in the Hudson Valley. It's a place that I hold near and dear to my heart. But they selected the white guy who was married to the African-American, he had an African-American wife, but he ended up having a failed presidency. And now when I compare the gay guy, he ended up getting a job out in Seattle, at a very nice university, very comparable, but he's doing really well. And that university is doing really well. So there is still challenges in so many different sectors when you're rising to that leadership level. And even, being a leader of an organization. Right. We're lucky because many of us work at LGBTQ organizations that are oriented towards that, but I come from New York. It's very tough being gay and being a leader of a nonprofit organization that's not oriented towards our community. So the challenges are real still.
And there's also corporate bullying. There are some things that people that identify as LGBTQ plus will have to experience, and some real ugly things in a corporate setting, white collar setting. So sometimes you count the cost. Is it worth it? Or let me just go do my job, collect my coins, and live my life on the outside.
Yeah, I think a good point is that people can't be their authentic selves, right? People feel like, they have to hide. Like, I love the fact that, like, I work at a gay organization and I could take my shirt off, right? And people will embrace it, right? Like, when I worked at the Catholic college, when I worked at the Catholic college, oh my God, that would be so taboo. I would probably be fired. And I mean, I remember a time where I actually was at, I just left the gym and I was assistant to the president, really well known in this town called Poughkeepsie, Hudson Valley, and I was at the supermarket and I was in sweats. And it was like, I just left the gym, it was like 8:30. Somebody told my boss, who my mentor's friend, they said, oh yeah, we saw Edward at Stop and Shop, but he was in sweatpants, Dennis. My boss came to me and said, you realize you represent me, you represent the institution, you were in sweatpants. The pressures are...
You were off the clock, right?
But I mean, if you take your shirt off with, what's your waist size, 27, at most,
32,
Oh, okay.
So I was joking. Okay. Ooh, I didn't say that.
Okay. LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up trans rights. Elon Musk's trans daughter says he is uncaring and narcissistic. Vivian Janet Wilson, the transgender daughter of Elon Musk, revealed in an exclusive NBC News interview that Musk was an absent and cruel father. Wilson said Musk rarely supported her, leaving her and her siblings in the care of their mother or nannies despite joint custody. She described Musk as cold, very quick to anger, and uncaring and narcissistic. Wilson recalled being harassed by Musk for exhibiting feminine traits. He pressured her to appear more masculine, even urging her to deepen her voice during elementary school. This is completely and utterly ridiculous. But I will say back in the day when I was a young gay little boy, I had those same issues with my father. My father wanted me to deepen my voice. He wanted me to make sure that I stood up when I went into the bathroom and all those other type of things. So I mean, it's sad, but I do think that there are a lot of men that end up having children who are trans that were once whatever sex they were. They want them to be who they were assigned at birth, and they want to teach them. They want to teach them that and play the part because they feel like they're embarrassing them in some shape or fashion.
Boycott Tesla, boycott Twitter, boycott Musk.
Well said.
Yeah.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up entertainment. Bridgerton season 4 to spotlight Benedict's love life with a woman. Bridgerton season 4 will spotlight Benedict Bridgerton's love life, though it may not be what some queer fans hoped for. According to Netflix, his romance will be with a woman. Showrunner Jess Bromwell noted, quote, I knew that people out there had a feeling Benedict might be queer. And personally, it made sense to me. He's not just open-minded. It's that he seems like that type of person who wouldn't be as concerned with gender. Someone who might be more fluid and pansexual, unquote. The upcoming season is based on Julia Quinn's third Bridgerton novel, An Offer from a Gentleman. I think a lot of people thought that this season that he was going to have a gay romance with somebody, but unfortunately it's not.
Well, did you see this past season and toward the end of the season, and there was a threesome that took place with him?
Yeah.
And I was trying to go back to the first season because he was in I don't remember the episode, but he was in a studio and he was drawing and there was a naked man and he seemed to be very infatuated. So I agree with that. He could be pansexual, he could be bisexual. But let's look at the other character, his sister, who, you talk about a plot twist. Okay, you guys, I'm trying to remember the name. Help me out. What's the sister's name that got married? But in the book, when she meets the cousin, it's the female name of the masculine character that she meets. So there's this whole thing that's going on of how that's going to, pan out. And no, I don't read the books, but I did like the series Bridgerton. It was great during COVID, and it's one of the things that have stuck with me.
Well, you are fully committed.
I am. I will say, I do like Bridgerton. I'm not going to lie. I like it.
So I think we did a story before that in season 5, maybe that's when his gay story is supposed to come out or whatever. But who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens.
And that is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out the closet and into the headlines. We need your support if our community is to grow, and we must tell our stories to bring them to the broader attention of the world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these type of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Dr. Edward Summers, on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Miss Adrianna Tender, Von Biggs, Michael Greene, and Gregg Shapiro. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you
Good night.